My name is Emily Carter, and the moment my brother Michael lifted his beer at my parents' 4th of July cookout, stared straight at me over the rim, and said, "Here's to Emily, our family's emergency fund," while everyone laughed like it was a cute joke, I felt 14 years of swallowed rage rise up so fast I actually tasted it. The yard smelled like charcoal and citronella. Kids shrieked through sprinklers. My mother's red, white and blue tablecloth flapped in the humid Ohio breeze like it was trying to escape. Fireworks wouldn't start for hours, but the show had already begun, because in my family, the real entertainment was watching me stay quiet. I didn't stay quiet. I set my paper plate down, hamburger untouched, bun already soggy, and I said, calmly enough that my voice didn't shake, "If I'm your emergency fund, then you're officially bankrupt, because I'm closed." The laughter died like someone pulled the plug. My mother's smile froze. My father's jaw tightened. My sister-in-law, Jenna, blinked like she'd never seen me speak in full sentences. And Michael did that little half grin he always did when he thought he could charm his way out of consequences. He said, warning in his voice, "Don't do this here." "Here is exactly where we do it," I replied. "You only tell the truth where there's an audience, right? That's your whole brand." The crowd shifted. Forks paused midair. Even the cicadas sounded louder. If you'd met me a year earlier, you would have called me steady, responsible, the dependable daughter, 35, living in Columbus, Ohio, with a decent job as a compliance analyst at a healthcare company, a small apartment I kept clean like control, and a savings account I built, one boring paycheck at a time. I wasn't rich. I wasn't flashy. I was just stable. And in my family, stability was treated like community property. My brother was 3 years older. He was loud and magnetic, and constantly on the edge of a big break. He collected dreams the way some people collect sneakers, always promising the next one would finally fit. My parents adored him in that special way. Parents sometimes adore the child who needs rescuing most. Michael's mistakes were learning experiences. My accomplishments were expected. I grew up learning a simple rule. Don't need too much. Don't ask for too much. Don't rock the boat. Be the good girl. Be the easy one. Be the one who makes it all work. It wasn't a rule anyone wrote down. It was just the air. When I was 16, my mum gave me a lecture in the car after I asked for a new winter coat. Michael had just crashed my dad's truck, and they were furious. But not furious at him, furious at the money. "Emily," she said, hands tight on the steering wheel, "you know we're stretched right now. Your brother is going through a phase." "He wrecked the truck," I muttered. "He's a boy," she said like that explained physics. "He'll grow out of it." "And my coat?" she sighed. "You have one. It's fine." It wasn't fine. The zipper was broken. And Ohio wind doesn't care about optimism. But I learned then that my needs were always negotiable. And Michael's crises were always urgent. By the time I graduated college, I was already the family's quiet fixer. I paid my own tuition with scholarships and a part-time job at a grocery store. Michael dropped out twice. My parents paid for his fresh starts. When he finally moved back home at 26, after a failed marriage and a failed HVAC certification program, my mum told me, "Don't judge him. He's finding himself." I didn't judge him. I funded him. It started with little things, the way traps always do. A text at 9:47 p.m. Can you spot me $200? Jenna's car insurance is due, and we're short." A call during my lunch break. "Your brother's credit card is about to get sent to collections. Just this once, can you help him stabilize?" A tearful voicemail from my mum. "Emily, please. He's stressed. The kids are stressed. You're the only one who can help." I told myself I was helping the kids. I told myself family meant doing what you could. I told myself that once Michael got on his feet, he'd stop leaning on me. Michael never got on his feet. He got on my back. Then my grandparents died. And my life, my real life, started and ended in one envelope. Grandma Ruth went first. Quietly. At home. After a long year of, "I'm fine," and "don't fuss." Grandpa Frank followed 8 months later, like his heart didn't know how to beat without her. They were my safe place growing up. The only people who saw me as a whole person instead of a resource. Their house sat on the edge of a sleepy neighborhood in Westerville, just outside Columbus. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a porch swing that creaked like an old secret, and a backyard with a peach tree that produced exactly 3 peaches a year, all of them bruised, all of them perfect, to me. When the will was read, Grandpa left the house to me. Not Michael, not my parents, me. My mum cried and said, "Dad always loved you." Michael clapped my shoulder and said, "Lucky you." I didn't feel lucky. I felt heavy. The house wasn't just wood and drywall. It was my grandparents' hands, their routines, the smell of coffee on Sunday mornings, the pencil marks on the doorframe where Grandma measured my height every year. It was also paid off. In Ohio, a paid-off house is freedom. I planned to rent it out at first. I even toured it with a property manager, a woman named Denise, who smelled like peppermint gum and competence. She told me I could clear a decent monthly profit after taxes and upkeep. "This could be your safety net," she said. Safety net. I loved that phrase. I had never had one. For the first time, I let myself picture a life where my savings didn't get drained every time Michael got an idea. Then, 2 months after Grandpa's funeral, Michael called. He sounded frantic, breathless, the same tone he used when he wanted the world to feel like it was ending so I wouldn't ask questions. I'm in trouble." I stood in my kitchen holding a mug of reheated coffee, watching steam rise like my peace leaving my body. "What happened?" I asked. He exhaled hard. "The business is collapsing. The loan's due. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Jenna's freaking out. The kids could lose their home." He knew exactly where to aim. Michael had started a home renovation company with 2 friends who mostly posted on Instagram and called it marketing. They bought a truck they couldn't afford. They printed polo shirts. They took exactly 3 jobs and botched 2. Somehow, Michael was shocked the bank didn't accept enthusiasm as collateral. "How much?" I asked. When he told me the number, my stomach dropped. It was more than my savings, more than my credit card limit, more than my ability to spot. There was only one thing worth that much: the house, my grandparents' house. "I need time," I said, and my voice sounded far away. There isn't time," he pressed. "If we miss this payment, they take it. Like take it. Gone." I didn't commit. I didn't agree. I said I'd think. That night, I drove to my grandparents' house alone. The neighborhood was quiet, streetlights casting soft yellow pools on the pavement. I let myself into the house with the key that still felt like permission. I walked through every room. In the kitchen, Grandma's old recipe box still sat in a drawer, index cards stained with butter and time. In the hallway, the doorframe still had pencil marks. Emily age 8, Emily age 12, Emily age 17. I ran my fingers over my name. Then I sat on the living room floor and cried until my ribs hurt. The next day, my mum called. She didn't ask how I was holding up. She cried, "Emily, please, if Michael loses the house, the kids will suffer. Do you want that on your conscience? Your grandfather would never forgive us." There it was. Not forgive Michael. Forgive us. Like the problem was shared, so the solution should be too. I tried to be logical. "Mum, I just inherited that house. I haven't even decided what to do with it. It's just a house," she whispered. Like my grandparents' love was a rental agreement. "Michael's children need stability." And then she said the line that sealed my fate. "You don't have children. You can recover. They can't." The cruelty of that sentence still stings. I didn't sell the house because I didn't love it. I sold it because my family taught me my love was measured by what I gave up. I listed the house fast. I priced it below market. I didn't fight for every dollar because I told myself time mattered more than money when kids were involved. A young couple bought it. They were sweet, excited, grateful. They told me they couldn't believe they found something in their budget. At closing, I signed the papers with my hand shaking so badly the notary asked if I was okay. I smiled and said, "Just allergies." When the check hit my account, I wired the bulk of it directly to Michael's lender and to a couple of creditors. I didn't hand Michael cash. I didn't buy him toys. I paid the fire away from his children. Michael hugged me and cried. "You saved us," he whispered into my shoulder. My mother cried and said, "You're such a good daughter." My father patted my back awkwardly, like gratitude made him uncomfortable. For about 3 weeks, I felt wanted. Then the silence started. Michael stopped calling unless he needed something. My mum stopped checking in. Family dinners happened without me. The group chat went quiet, like I'd been muted. I told myself they were busy, stressed, adjusting. Then I found out what actually happened. 6 months after I sold the house, I got a notification from my credit monitoring app. One of those automated alerts that normally meant nothing. New loan inquiry. In Michael's name. It was odd, but not my business. Then, at Thanksgiving, I overheard my Aunt Linda whispering to my mum in the kitchen, "Did you see? Michael refinanced. He pulled out like 60 grand. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. I stared at the turkey on my plate like it might answer me. Refinanced. Pulled out cash. After I sold my grandparents' house to keep his from being taken. My skin went cold. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my car, in the driveway, hands gripping the steering wheel until my fingers ached. I called Michael. He answered on the third ring. Cheerful. Too cheerful. "Hey, Em. What's up?" My voice came out steady, but I felt like I was shaking on the inside. "Did you refinance your mortgage?" A pause. The faint sound of a TV in the background. Yeah," he said casually. Why? Why?" I repeated, and I hated how small I sounded. "Michael, I sold Grandma and Grandpa's house to keep you afloat." He sighed, like I was exhausting him. Relax. It's not like I took your money." "You did," I said, and the words tasted bitter. "You took my inheritance." "I didn't force you," he snapped. That was the first time he said it. The phrase that would later become his family catchphrase. "I didn't force you." As if pressure isn't force. As if guilt isn't a crowbar. "What did you use the cash for?" I asked. He laughed. "It's called investing." "In what?" Another pause. Then, with the confidence of a man who mistook recklessness for strategy, he said, "A franchise opportunity. It's a sure thing." I closed my eyes. "Michael," I whispered, "are you out of your mind? Don't talk to me like I'm a child," he snapped. "I'm building something." "No," I said softly. "You're gambling." He didn't answer. Then his voice dropped into that familiar wounded tone he used when he wanted sympathy. "You're supposed to be happy for me." I hung up before my rage said something I couldn't take back. For a week, I didn't sleep right. I went to work and stared at spreadsheets without absorbing numbers. I replayed every conversation, every tear, every family helps family, like it was a hypnotic loop. Then Christmas came, and with it, the worst family gathering of my life. My parents hosted Christmas Eve like always. My mum loved traditions because they made her feel like nothing could change. She set out her cinnamon candles, and her perfect holiday plates, and her curated smile. I arrived with a bottle of wine and a knot in my stomach. Michael arrived late, as usual, with Jenna and the kids, and a new attitude that smelled like entitlement. He acted like my parents' house was his stage. He held court in the living room, telling stories about his business, laughing loudly, kissing babies, soaking up attention. I watched him perform, and something inside me kept tightening. During dinner, my mum made a toast. "To family," she said, eyes shining. "To sticking together. To the sacrifices we make for each other." Her eyes flicked to me when she said sacrifices, like I was the example, like my pain was a holiday centerpiece. Everyone clinked glasses. Michael clinked his glass the loudest. Then, while dessert was being served, Michael leaned toward me and lowered his voice. "Hey, Em," he said, casual. "We might need a little help again." I stared at him. "What?" He shrugged. "The franchise thing has a delay. Money's tight this month, but it's temporary." Temporary. That was my family's favorite word. Temporary was how they justified permanent damage. "I'm not helping," I said. His smile twitched. "Come on." "No." Jenna suddenly looked up from her plate, eyes sharp. "Emily, don't do this now." "Don't do what?" I asked. "Say no." Michael's voice hardened. "You're being dramatic." I laughed once short, humorless. "Dramatic is refinancing your house after someone sells their inheritance to save you." My mother's head snapped up. "Emily." My father's voice went low. "Not tonight." And there it was again. Not the truth, just the timing. I pushed my chair back and stood. The room swayed slightly, like my body didn't believe I was allowed to take up space. "I sold Grandma and Grandpa's house for you," I said, voice steady. I did it because you told me your kids would lose theirs. And then you refinanced and pulled cash out to chase another sure thing. Michael's cheeks flushed. I kept going. 6 months later, Michael refinanced and pulled cash out for a franchise scheme. Then he lost the house anyway. My dad's eyes flicked to Michael, then away, like he didn't want to look at reality too long. My mum's voice trembled. Emily, you didn't have to do that. And yet I did, I said, because you told me their children would suffer and it would be on my conscience. My Aunt Linda's mouth tightened. Family helps family. I turned toward her. Family doesn't manipulate one person into selling their inheritance and then mock them for it. Michael stepped forward, voice low. You're sick. You're obsessed. I met his eyes. No, Michael. I'm awake. Then I pulled out the photos Jenna sent blown up, printed, because I'm done being subtle. I also want everyone to know, I said, that after draining me financially, Michael prepared paperwork to use my identity. My mother gasped, hand to her mouth. What? Michael exploded. That's not true. I held the papers up so people could see the shaky imitation signature. It's my name, I said. My info. My signature practiced like a forgery. The room went so quiet. I heard the heater click. My dad's voice came out rough. Michael, is this real? Michael's eyes darted. His mouth opened, closed. I was just planning, he said weakly. Planning to steal from me, I said. And my voice didn't shake. A cousin whispered, Oh my God. And then, finally, someone besides me said something true. Jenna stepped forward from the hallway. She'd been silent all evening. Shoulders tight, eyes tired. She looked at the room and said, It's true. I found it in his files. He lied to all of you. He lied to me. Michael turned on her. You're ruining me. You ruined yourself, she said, and her voice was steel. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just felt the story snap into place, like a puzzle finally finished. Then I looked at my parents and said, I'm not doing this anymore. No money, no emotional labor, no fixing. You can love me as a person, or not at all. My dad's throat bobbed. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. My mum whispered, Emily, honey. I waited. This was the moment they could choose. My mum's eyes filled, and she said, We didn't know. I nodded once. You didn't want to. My dad's voice cracked. Emily, I'm sorry. The apology landed awkwardly, like a word he wasn't practiced at. Michael sneered. You're turning them against me. I looked at him and said, No. You did that the moment you decided I was easier to steal from than to respect. Then I picked up my coat. Before I left, I said one last sentence, quiet. Not for drama, just for truth. Grandma told me I give until people forget it cost me. Today, I remember, and I'm done paying. Then I walked out into the Ohio cold, my breath puffing like smoke, my heart pounding like it was finally waking up. That night, my phone lit up with messages. From Mom, don't do this to the family. From Dad, call me now. From Michael, you really going to punish my kids? From Jenna, you're heartless. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then I typed one sentence in the family group chat. I'm not your safety net anymore. Do not contact me about money again. I hit send. My hand shook. Not because I wasn't sure, because I knew what saying no would cost me. And the cost was still cheaper than staying. The next morning, I did what I'd never done with my family. I made a plan that didn't include them. I pulled up my bank statements and searched Michael's name. I pulled emails. I pulled texts. Every just this once. Every temporary. Every we'll pay you back. I started a folder on my laptop titled Carter Family Financial History. It wasn't revenge. It was reality. Because the truth is, when you're the responsible one, you learn to protect yourself with documentation. I went to a lawyer named Sheila Grant, a calm woman in her 50s with glasses that made her look like she could read lies off paper. She listened without interrupting, while I explained the inheritance, the sale, the wire transfers, the refinance, the constant pressure. When I finished, she leaned back and said, Emily, do you have a written agreement that the money was a loan? I swallowed. No, it was family. She nodded, not judgmental. Family is the most common reason people lose money without paperwork. So I'm screwed, I whispered. Not necessarily, she said. We can still take steps. You can demand repayment in writing. You can cut contact. You can protect yourself going forward. But you need to decide what you actually want. I stared at my hands. I want them to understand. She gave a small smile. They might not. So the question becomes, do you want justice or do you want peace? I didn't answer immediately because I realized something. For years, my family had convinced me those two things couldn't coexist, but maybe they could. 2 weeks later, I got a certified letter in the mail from my brother. I knew it was from him before I opened it because the return address was my parents' house, and the handwriting had that rushed, aggressive slant. Inside was one page, a demand. He was asking me to sign a document stating the money I gave him was a gift, not a loan, to avoid misunderstandings in the future. I laughed out loud in my empty apartment, not because it was funny, because it was perfectly on brand. They didn't just want my sacrifice. They wanted my signature validating it. I called my mom. She answered cheerful, like we were discussing cookie recipes. "Hi, honey. Did you get Michael's letter?" My voice went cold. "Yes. And you'll sign, right?" she asked, like it was obvious. "It'll smooth everything over." "Smoothing it over is how we got here," I said. She sighed. "Emily, why are you being so stubborn?" "Because stubborn is the only thing that stops people like Michael," I replied. Her tone snapped sharp. "People like Michael? That's your brother." "He's my brother," I said, "and he stole my peace." Silence. Then my father's voice appeared in the background. "Tell her she's selfish." My mum whispered, "Your dad thinks you're being selfish." I said, "Tell Dad he raised me to be honest. This is honesty." My mum's voice turned icy. "If you do this, you'll split the family." I swallowed. The family was already split. I was just the side being drained. Then I hung up. That week, I sent Michael a certified letter of my own. Not emotional, not dramatic, just facts. The amount I paid, the date I sold the house, the wire transfers, the reason given at the time preventing foreclosure, and one sentence at the end. "Your attempt to reclassify this as a gift is denied. Do not contact me except through counsel." When you draw a boundary with people who live off your boundaries, they don't just get upset, they get creative. Michael started a campaign. He called relatives. He told them I was greedy. He said I was trying to sue him. He implied I was mentally unstable. My Aunt Linda texted me, "Your grandparents would be ashamed." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "My grandparents left me the house because they trusted me. I trusted Michael. He broke it." She didn't respond. My cousin posted a vague Facebook status about family members who think money matters more than blood. People commented heart emojis. I deleted Facebook. For months, the silence was brutal. Not because I missed them, but because I missed the illusion that I belonged. Then March happened. And March is when the universe finally stopped letting my family hide behind my sacrifice. Michael's franchise opportunity collapsed. The investors vanished. The promises evaporated. The refinance money was gone. And then he lost his house anyway. Not immediately. First came the temporary late notices. Then the utilities got shut off once. Then Jenna moved with the kids to her sister's for a break. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, my dad called me from a number I almost didn't recognize, an old landline. "Emily," he said, and his voice sounded older. Then I remembered. "Michael needs help." I felt my chest tighten, but my voice stayed calm. "No." A beat of stunned silence. He tried again. "He's your brother," I said, "and I'm your daughter." He'll. "Don't do this." "I'm not doing anything," I replied. "I stopped doing." My dad's voice turned angry. "You're going to let him fail?" I said, "He's been failing for years. I just used to pay to keep you from seeing it." He hung up. 2 weeks later, my mom showed up at my apartment. She had never been there before. She didn't know where I lived, until she found out from my employer's emergency contact info, which I later changed. When I opened the door, she stood in the hallway with her purse clutched in both hands, eyes red like she'd rehearsed sadness. "Emily," she whispered, "please." I didn't invite her in. "What do you want?" I asked. She blinked, offended. "I want to talk to my daughter." I held the doorframe. Then talk. Her voice trembled. Michael he's losing everything. I nodded. Yes, and the kids, she said quickly. The kids are scared. My throat tightened, but I didn't move. Where are they? With Jenna's sister, she said. But that's not permanent. I exhaled slowly. Mum, you need to stop using the kids to pry open my boundaries. Her face hardened. Don't talk to me like I'm manipulating you. You are, I said, and the words came out clean. You have been for years. She gasped, like I'd slapped her. After everything we've done for you. I laughed once. What have you done for me? She stared, mouth open, like the question had never existed in her universe. We raised you, she said finally, and I've been paying you back since I was 22, I replied. Her eyes filled. So you're just done? You're going to abandon us? I felt my heart pounding, but my voice stayed steady. I'm going to stop abandoning myself. My mum's lips trembled. Then she switched tactics, anger. You think you're better than us, she hissed, because you have a job and a savings account. No, I said softly. I think I deserve a life. Her eyes narrowed. If you don't help Michael, your father and I will never forgive you. I nodded. Okay. She flinched like she expected me to break. I didn't. She left without looking back. That night, I sat on my couch in the dark, and for the first time, the guilt didn't swallow me. It knocked, and I didn't open the door. The next month, I got a call from Jenna. It was the first time she'd ever called me directly. Her voice was tired, flat, like someone who had cried too much to have tears left. Emily, she said, I need to tell you something. I braced myself. Okay. I didn't know, she said quickly. About the refinancing, about the franchise. Michael told me you were fine with it. He told me you said it was a gift. My stomach turned, not surprised, just confirmed. And, I asked, and I'm divorcing him, she said. I sat very still. I'm sorry, she added, and her voice cracked. I'm sorry we used you. I'm sorry I let it happen. I was so busy surviving him, that I didn't notice what he was doing to you. I swallowed hard. Thank you for saying that. There was a pause. Then she said, He's telling everyone you're the reason this happened. I almost laughed. Of course he is. Jenna exhaled shakily. He needs someone to blame. He always does. She hesitated. I'm not calling to ask you for money. I swear. I needed you to know I see it now. My throat tightened. Because validation from someone who hurt you is still a strange kind of relief. I'm glad you see it, I said quietly. Then Jenna said the sentence that became the twist I didn't realize I needed. Emily, I found something. What? I asked, heart suddenly racing. When we were packing, she said, I opened the file box, the one he keeps business papers in. There were documents with your name on them. My breath caught. What kind of documents? Loan applications, she said, and a form, a power of attorney template. My blood went cold. I don't understand, I whispered. He never submitted it, Jenna said quickly. I don't think, but it was filled out. Your name, your address, your signature well, not your signature, but like a practice, like he'd been trying to copy it. My hands started shaking. Emily, Jenna said, voice urgent, I'm giving it to my lawyer, but I thought you should know because he wasn't just leaning on you. He was planning to take more. I closed my eyes. For years, I told myself my family was just messy, emotional, bad with money. But this was intention. This was strategy. Michael didn't just believe he deserved my help. He believed he deserved my identity. Jenna sent me photos that night, pages with my name typed neatly at the top, my social security number partially filled in, a signature line with a shaky imitation of my handwriting. I stared at the images until my stomach twisted. Then, for the first time, I felt something besides grief and guilt. I felt rage so clean, it sharpened my thoughts. The next morning, I updated every password I had. I froze my credit. I pulled my credit report. I filed a report with the FTC identity theft site, just to document the risk. I didn't accuse anyone yet. I just created a paper trail. And I did one more thing. I requested copies of the closing documents from the sale of my grandparents' house. Not because I didn't trust myself, because I didn't trust what my family might claim later. When the documents arrived, I printed them and put them in a folder. Then I added my certified letter to Michael, then screenshots of texts from my mum, then the photos Jenna sent. I looked at the stack and realized something. My family didn't deserve my feelings. They deserved my evidence. That summer, my parents hosted 4th of July, because of course they did. My mum loved holidays, where she could pretend everything was intact. I didn't plan to go. Then I got a text from my Aunt Linda. Your parents are heartbroken. Michael is a mess. Come be the bigger person. Bigger person. That phrase had been used on me my whole life like a leash. This time, I read it and felt nothing. Then Jenna texted me. Michael is telling people you stole from him. He's saying you forced him to take your grandparents' house money. Be careful. Something in me clicked. If he was going to rewrite the story, I was going to tell it first. So I went, not to reconcile, to end it. I arrived at my parents' backyard with a store-bought fruit tray and a calm I didn't recognize in myself. The yard looked the same, plastic flags, cheap lawn chairs, my dad working the grill like masculinity was a hobby. Michael was already there, louder than everyone, holding court like he hadn't detonated his own life. When he saw me, he grinned too wide. Look who finally showed up, he said, voice carrying. Miss, I'm too good for us. People laughed nervously. I smiled politely. Hi, Michael. He lifted his beer. Hey, everyone toast time, he announced, because he loves an audience. He raised it toward me. Here's to Emily, our family's emergency fund. Laughter rippled. My mum smiled like it was harmless. My dad chuckled like he couldn't help it. And that's when I set my plate down and said, if I'm your emergency fund, then you're officially bankrupt, because I'm closed. Silence slammed into the yard. Michael's screen faltered. Don't. I'm going to, I said. Calm, clear. I reached into my tote bag and pulled out a manila folder. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just prepared. I held it up and said, for years, you've told everyone I'm so strong and so responsible, as if that means you're entitled to my life. So today, I'm going to be responsible in public. My mum's eyes widened. Emily, please. No, I said, gently. You asked me not to do it at Christmas. You asked me not to do it over dinner. You asked me not to do it ever. And that's how you keep the lie alive. People shifted. Someone coughed. A kid stopped running. Michael's voice went sharp. You're making a scene. You made it a scene when you made me your punchline, I replied. Then I opened the folder and pulled out the sale documents. I sold Grandma and Grandpa's house on May 14, I said. I wired $132,400 to save Michael from foreclosure. Here's the proof. Michael's face reddened. I kept going. 6 months later, Michael refinanced and pulled cash out for a franchise scheme. Then he lost the house anyway. My dad's eyes flicked to Michael, then away, like he didn't want to look at reality too long. My mum's voice trembled. Emily, you didn't have to do that. And yet I did, I said, because you told me their children would suffer, and it would be on my conscience. My Aunt Linda's mouth tightened. Family helps family. I turned toward her. Family doesn't manipulate one person into selling their inheritance and then mock them for it. Michael stepped forward, voice low. You're sick. You're obsessed. I met his eyes. No, Michael. I'm awake. Then I pulled out the photos Jenna sent, blown up, printed, because I'm done being subtle. I also want everyone to know, I said, that after draining me financially, Michael prepared paperwork to use my identity. My mother gasped, hand to her mouth. What? Michael exploded. That's not true. I held the papers up so people could see the shaky imitation signature. It's my name, I said. My info. My signature practiced like a forgery. The yard went so quiet, I heard the grill sizzle. My dad's voice came out rough. Michael, is this real? Michael's eyes darted. His mouth opened, closed. I was just planning, he said weakly. Planning to steal from me, I said, and my voice didn't shake. A cousin whispered, oh my God. And then, finally, someone besides me said something true. Jenna stepped forward from the porch she'd arrived with the kids to pick up a cooler she'd left, and she'd heard everything. She looked at the crowd and said, It's true. I found it in his files. He lied to all of you. He lied to me. Michael turned on her. You're ruining me. You ruined yourself, she said, and her voice was steel. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just felt the story snap into place, like a puzzle finally finished. Then I looked at my parents and said, I'm not doing this anymore. No money, no emotional labor, no fixing. You can love me as a person or not at all. My dad's throat bobbed. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. My mum whispered, Emily, honey. I waited. This was the moment they could choose. My mum's eyes filled, and she said, we didn't know. I nodded once. You didn't want to. My dad's voice cracked. Emily, I'm sorry. The apology landed awkwardly, like a word he wasn't practiced at. Michael sneered. You're turning them against me. I looked at him and said, no. You did that the moment you decided I was easier to steal from than to respect. Then I picked up my bag. Before I left, I said one last sentence quiet. Not for drama, just for truth. Grandma told me I give until people forget it costs me. Today I remember. And I'm done paying. I walked out. Behind me, I heard someone whisper, Jesus. And for the first time, the shame wasn't mine. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was messy. Michael tried damage control. He texted me paragraphs about betrayal, about family, about forgiveness, about how I embarrassed him. I didn't respond. My parents called a few times, not for money for once, but for connection. I didn't rush back. I didn't punish them. I just let the space exist, because space was the boundary I'd never been allowed. Michael's life collapsed fast after that. Jenna finalized the divorce. His friends vanished. The franchise dream evaporated. He moved back into my parents' basement, the same place he always returned when consequences arrived. And for the first time, my parents couldn't pretend it was my job to stabilize him, because everyone had seen it now. Not my version, the documented version. One afternoon, my dad met me for coffee in a neutral place, a Panera with soft lighting and an air conditioner that hummed like white noise. He sat across from me, hands wrapped around his cup like he needed something to hold. I didn't protect you, he said quietly. I felt my throat tighten. No, you didn't. He swallowed. I thought you were fine. You always looked fine. I nodded. That's the problem. I got so good at looking fine that nobody bothered asking what it cost. His eyes filled. My dad rarely cried. He cleared his throat, like tears were embarrassing. I'm sorry, he said again. And this time it sounded less like a word and more like a truth. I didn't forgive him instantly. I didn't have a movie moment. I just said, thank you for saying it. My mum took longer. She called me one night and said, I didn't mean to hurt you. I said, intent doesn't erase impact. She went quiet. Then she whispered, I'm scared. Of what? I asked. Of losing my son, she admitted. And I didn't realize I was losing my daughter instead. That was the most honest thing she'd ever said. I told her, you already did, but you can build something new if you stop demanding I bleed for it. It wasn't a perfect ending. Real life rarely is. But here's what happened that matters. I stopped being their emergency fund, and my life got bigger. I got a promotion at work because my brain wasn't constantly occupied by Michael's chaos. I started sleeping through the night. I started making plans for weekends without checking my phone every 10 minutes. I started dating again slowly, cautiously, because I finally believed I deserved a relationship where love wasn't measured in payments. Do I miss my grandparents' house? Every day. I miss the porch swing, the peach tree, the pencil marks on the doorframe, but I don't miss the version of myself who would have sold anything for people who only loved me when I was useful. That version of me is gone. And if you're listening to this, and you recognize yourself, the reliable one, the strong one, the one who always lands on her feet, please hear me. Being capable doesn't mean you owe everyone access to your life. Love without respect is just extraction with a nicer name. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who refuses to drain you. The last text I ever sent Michael was simple. Not angry. Not dramatic. Do not contact me again. If you need something, learn to need it from yourself. He responded with one line. You'll regret this. I stared at it, and I realized something that felt like relief. Regret is what you feel when you abandon yourself. I finally stopped, And the most satisfying part? It wasn't watching Michael crash. It was watching myself rise quietly, steadily, without asking anyone for permission. That 4th of July, as I drove away from my parents' house, fireworks exploded in the distance. Bright, loud, temporary. I rolled the window down and let the summer air hit my face. And for the first time in years, my chest didn't feel tight. It felt open, like breathing after a lifetime underwater. And that's how you know you're free.